This is the Sick'em Podcast, powered by Rogue Media Network. The Sick'em Podcast is a production of Baylor Athletics. Now, here are your hosts, Katie Smith and the voice of the Bears, John Morris.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Sick'em Podcast, powered by Rogue Media Network, a production of Baylor Athletics. John Morris, Katie Smith. And, Katie, how about we go to one of Baylor's all-time greats for our guest this week, a great on the football field, a great now with the B Association, Walter Abercrombie, our guest today.
Yes, Walter, we're so excited to have you. Thank you for making the time. We know you have a busy week with a youth conference today, Talik the Coom event you're speaking at tomorrow. We are honored that you got to take the time. How are things going?
Things are going really, really well.
Yeah.
Really well. Excited to be here and to be a part of, to be with you guys this morning. I was just thinking, I'm like, man, I see Katie here and there, and all of a sudden she's on the radio podcast.
Right.
And the more you can do, I can tell you that extends your value a little bit.
Thank you, Walter. That's so nice of you to say.
She is. The word is invaluable.
Invaluable.
Wow.
In the business office. Okay, I mean, that's her day job.
Right.
In the business
My day
office.
job.
Kennedy's mom is her other day, or is her night job.
My night
maybe,
job,
right?
yeah. Sometimes in the middle of the night job, for sure.
But then Katie on our TV broadcast for volleyball, and now the podcast co-host. Ugh, way to go, Katie.
Man, Walter and people like him make it easy. You know what I mean? They make it fun.
Yeah.
They give anyone a headset and they'll make me look good. I love it.
And Walter, from your position with the Letterman's Association, the B Association, here's a former letter winner right here.
Exactly
Katie.
right.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Katie is great. She's a board member and has been very active in the things that we're trying to do. And so I'm so appreciative of her, and she's making it hard to. But you're gonna one day want to become a mother, maybe twice.
Yeah,
three times.
second
Who
kid,
knows?
third.
And
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Whoa,
It's just
hey,
the one. Just
breaking
the one
news
so far.
here.
I do know, having experienced that with kids, that sometimes when those kids come along, then the other things that you're doing start to fade away.
Yeah, it's a lot
I know
of.
you have that priority in mind. But anyway,
Yes.
we're going to enjoy you while you're here.
Yeah, there's a lot of balls floating in the air, but I just try not to drop the important ones. But, Walter, you mentioned the B Association, and so tell me when you started that role. When did you start in the role specifically? Because you came to Baylor I guess you've always been at Baylor, but in 1992, is it? The academic services side. But then when did you switch to actually working in the B Association and kind of running that effort?
So when I left in my role in 1992 or 3, somewhere around there, I went to work at the American Football Coaches Association with Coach Taft.
Yeah.
He offered me a job there, and so I left. I did that for about 9 or 10 years, and then Ian McCall was hired. And he wanted to do something different with the B Association, and so he offered me in 2004 an opportunity to come back. I had a pretty good job, but when I thought about all of the opportunity that existed with the B Association, I didn't look at it as a job. It was an opportunity for me to be around Letterman, people I'd been around all of my life, and so that's the way I've kind of approached this job. And it's the all total my 20th year this year.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That's great.
That's incredible.
That's great. And I like to say this, and it's absolutely true. You're the perfect guy to be the head of our B Association.
You really are.
Just because of
Thank
your
you, John.
contacts and your relationships for so many years. I mean, you're the perfect guy for that, and I'm guessing it's kind of the perfect job for you also.
It really is. I've been around Baylor all my life. And the story for me, growing up literally blocks from campus, I was influenced as a young man growing up in that neighborhood over South Waco when the RAs, or whatever they were called, I'm not sure if they were RAs. They used to call them RAs at our church, but it was students who were going down into the neighborhoods and witnessing to kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And what they would do is they'd come down and they'd bring the Word of God, but then they'd also invite you back to the church over 7th and James for punch and cookies.
That sounds fun.
You had to listen to the Word, but then you get punch and cookies. And so that's what but I got to know some students at that time, and I liked these guys, man. They cared about us. They showed us a lot of love.
Yeah.
And so I from a very young age became familiar with Baylor and Baylor students, And then, of course, the experience I had seeing John Westbrook play for the Bears. He was the first African American to play football in a football game not only at Baylor but in the Southwest Conference.
Yeah.
And so that had an influence on me. I would say pretty much Baylor's been part of my life. I mean, ever since I can even think. My memory only goes back so far, but. And then having the opportunity to work for as long as I have and work with all of these outstanding people. I can tell you, and I know I'm biased, but Baylor athletes are some of the finest people in the world. A lot of people don't know that. I've met. I played in Pittsburgh. I played in Philadelphia. I've got to know teammates, and others. But I really believe that. I really believe that Baylor athletes. Student athletes are some of the finest in the world because they care, they have their faith, they want to stay involved with the university. Not only just words of mouth, but many of them give back to the university and give to the athletic department. If you look at many of these athletic facilities, there are athletes. There's athletes whose names are on those facilities,
Yeah.
and in this building, there's athletes whose names are on the doors in these buildings. So, I'm having a great time doing it.
Yeah.
I've been able to raise a family here in Waco, 4 children, and 3 of whom have graduated from Baylor.
Yeah.
And one's in the 9th grade, so she's got a while to go. I'm not sure she's gonna make it, but but anyway.
If you're listening, you can do it. This is an
You can
encouragement.
do it. Come on.
Dad believes in you.
Anyway, we just had a great time, and I call this work, but it's really not work.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to hang around my friends, to be with them when I can, and to help lead an organization and give the student athletes a face at the university, give them a reason to come back and be involved and have that door open for them.
Yeah.
You're always going to be a Baylor Bear.
That's such a good point. And I mean, John said it best when he said that who could be more perfect for this job than Walter Abercrombie. But I think what you talk about, Walter, and me having the privilege to sit in on some of those board meetings, you kind of get a front row seat of the relationship that you have with those former letter winners, and you give Baylor a home for people. So student athletes, they're all across the country, but when they come back, they see Walter, they see the B Association, they have a place that they can go back and think back on how much Baylor meant to them, just like you talked about how much it meant to you. So when you think about the change from when you were a student athlete, Walter, we're in the world of NIL and the world of everything changing. Like, what are kind of your thoughts on the way that NIL has changed this space in terms of student athletes now versus when you were a student athlete?
Yeah, that's a big topic, and it's a lot of thoughts about that. And I've tried to look at this thing from a number of different perspectives.
Yeah.
As a former student athlete myself, now as an administrator, as I get older, I get, people get more conservative as they get older, but I think it's a tremendous opportunity for the students to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. Now, I just don't know about this. It's an experiment because the word used to be back when I worked at the Coaches Association that once the focus gets off of education and development of young people and becomes about money, then we've lost it. We've lost the game. And I just don't know if we're there yet, but I'm not too sure, this chapter's been fully written. But I think while it's good for the individual players, some of them, obviously, it may not be good for the overall institution of collegiate amateur sports.
Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely a big topic right now.
Yeah, very much so. I know you put a lot of thought into it. Probably get a lot of input from letter winners,
I was
right?
going to say,
Like, hey, man, we didn't have this when I was playing.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of folks, of course, I deal with older athletes, so a lot of them don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you probably would have liked it if you were a student athlete.
Sure.
That's what people are always asking me. Oh, do you think you would have made tons of money with NIL? And I'm like, well, there's no way to prove I wouldn't have. So the answer is yes until we say otherwise.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Well, we're talking about your going back to your days, your playing days. What do you think about Richard Reese, who's a freshman this year and has really burst on the scene? Kind of like you did your freshman year.
Sounds familiar.
And that debut against Texas A&M.
Man, I'm just so impressed with him.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I mean, I see him dart through the hole, and he'll have 11 yards before people even get a hold of him. It is amazing, and he's not even that big. He's a small
not big.
guy.
That's it.
And carrying the ball now. What is it? 2 games now, where he's over 30 times a game. That's a big load, John. And to put it in perspective now, and we carry, we were a running offense, but I think I carried the ball maybe one time in my career. It was over 30 carries.
Yeah.
Once in my entire career.
Wow.
And so for him to do it, 2 weeks in a row now, I worry a little bit about his well-being. I hope he can stay healthy, because all it takes is that one shot to the shoulder or to the thigh or hip, and you're out. And so you've lost your star guy. So it's just great to see him having the success he's having. He seems like such a humble young man. I mean, a team guy. I attended one of the devotionals for the team, and I spoke there, and I looked over and I saw this little guy sitting on the chair with his guitar, or his bass guitar he's playing at the devotional. And I said, "Who is that?" They said, "Well, that's Richard Reese, right?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, he's a musician." Yeah. Musician as well, so
just doesn't seem fair when you have that many talents. You know what I mean?
He's but I got the chance to visit him and get to know him a little bit, and he's a really nice young man. But he is carrying a big load for a small guy.
We're visiting with Walter Abercrombie, head of the Bee Association, one of Baylor's all-time greats on the Sikkim podcast, now Associate AD for letter winners here at Baylor. I've had the privilege of calling games and telling stories about Baylor athletics for a long time. Not back to Walter's days. We were in school together at the same time. But storytelling is an art, and there's a network in town doing just that. Rogue Media Network has produced over 80 original podcasts and shows ranging from comedy, true crime, business, and sports. If there's a story to tell, Rogue Media Network is telling it. You can find this podcast and all the other great Rogue Media Network shows on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Walter, one of the, there's many reasons, but one of the reasons we wanted to have you on with us is the annual Hall of Fame and Wall of Honor banquet is coming up November 18th, right around the corner as we record this, just a couple of weeks away. And it's another thing I say every year. It's another great class, and you've outdone yourself again with the class of electees this year.
John, you've been with us for a long time, and, we keep saying this. How can the next year's class be better than the last year's class? But somehow we continue to do it. But I think it just speaks to the number of athletes that we've had that have come through Baylor program. Some tremendous athletes created a lot of memories for Baylor fans. And so we're thrilled to have this class and so many, I think about little Tweety Carter, who's working here at Baylor now. I see him occasionally, and I just remember all the excitement that he brought to the Baylor basketball team at a time when we really needed some good players to start making us smile a little bit. And I'm so thrilled that he's back on campus. But Tweety's part of this class. Of course, the big names like RG3, he's part of this class as well. And Doakfield is a guy that I played with who was an outstanding linebacker in that group of linebackers that included Mike Singletary. Quentin Eichelhard-Summers, who's representing the men's track, was an outstanding 800-meter, quarter miler. Did an unbelievable job in representing Coach Hart. He was doing the Coach Hart years, I believe. So we're having him back. Gary Kafer, who was also a track guy. Josh Ludy, who was a tremendous baseball player for the Bears. And, of course, Taylor Barnes, one of the All-Americans for volleyball. Katie, you know her.
Yeah.
Were you a teammate with her?
I was not, but she was kind of that name that was all over the record books that you always saw showing up, winning all these awards, things like that. So I think she was probably, I think it was 3 or 4 years before I was a freshman, but she kind of was the big name from that that decade that everyone thought was so cool and looked up to.
Good. Well, did we make a good choice?
Yes, very good choice.
I applaud the
She's
committee.
got my vote.
I applaud the committee. They do a tremendous job when we go about the selection process. It's not always easy, Of course, there's some folks who may criticize the choices. I find that those people are those who are wanting to get into the Hall of Fame themselves.
That's funny.
We have a really outstanding selection process that we've stuck with through the years, even back to Dutch Schrader, and we've tried to keep it with a great deal of integrity. We have our athletic director involved in the selection as well, and so we got the old knowledge, and we have some people who are not familiar with the history of Baylor University, but are familiar with the type of people that we want to go in the Hall of Fame. And so those individuals, of course, Jerry Hill's a part of the selection process.
Great
Jerry
choice.
Grill's a great amount of history and knowledge to the selection, and so we're real thrilled. Another great class, John, and we're looking forward to the event on the weekend, the 18th and 19th of November this month. It's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be in a different venue. We're normally at the Waco Convention Center. We're going to be in the Cashin building over the School of Business.
Nice.
And so it's a smaller room, so the room is filling up quickly.
Yeah.
If you have not gotten your ticket and you need to get your ticket, please contact Tammy Harden as soon as you can, because the space is filling up rapidly, as you can imagine.
Especially with this class. I'm sure people
Yeah.
are all over the place trying to sign up. So event is in a new location, but still similar programming to years past. We'll get to hear from each of the Hall of Famers. J-Mo will be there.
J-Mo will be. J-Mo, how many years is this for you?
Oh, I don't even know. I really don't. I don't know.
Is that right? He's been doing it so long.
It's great. I love it because it's what I say is it's living, breathing Baylor history, Baylor athletics history with these people and their acceptance, and they're so appreciative. We talked to Tweedy last week.
Yeah.
You heard that interview. He teared up. I mean, talking about how much it means to him. So,
That's
this
special.
is very, very significant.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It is. And the Wall of Honor, you've got two inductees in the Wall of Honor this year also.
Yes, we do. Two Air Force veterans. One is deceased, but both of their careers were amazing. How they gave back to the Air Force after they had retired. Both, so were promoted to the position of colonel. This Colonel Wilbur Mahaffey, who was a former football letterman, did some amazing things during his career. Colonel Tyree Newton, who is still alive and comes to the Letterman's Lounge just about every home game.
Wow.
I get to see him, and it's amazing. He's such a man. You would not realize he's a war hero.
Wow.
I mean, this man comes in unassuming. He doesn't say a whole lot. He comes in with his wife, and they just sit down and enjoy the camaraderie in the Letterman's Lounge on game day. And somebody pointed him out to me one day, and I thought, that's Tyree Newton.
How about
He
that?
is there, and so we got a chance to visit, and I got to know him a little bit, and so I couldn't be more proud that we have this award. First of all, to recognize lettermen who not necessarily did a whole lot in their athletic career, but post graduation, after sort of a lifetime achievement award. And those two men fit the bill.
Terrific. He was a baseball player here at Baylor.
Yeah.
All right, November 19th is the banquet. Tickets still available, 254-710-3045. Or you can email Walter or Tammy, Tammy_Harden, Hardin, at Baylor.edu. But a little bit smaller space, so a little bit fewer tickets available this year.
A little bit fewer tickets, and we're sort of running into a little space problem now. We weren't sure how many people would come. We normally draw around 400 or 500 people, but with this room only being able to get to, we can squeeze in 400. Boy, it's getting pretty tight.
There's probably some challenge too with the people being inducted. Bring their families, bring coaches. They have guests of their own. So of course those people get seats, and so
that's exactly
kind of makes a lot of demand for the rest of us trying to get the others.
One of the players who's going in, the track athlete Gary Kafer, I think his total table count now is 4.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
great.
bring a big group of people
From
in.
Gatesville.
Yeah, that's right.
That's cool, though. It just speaks to like how many people go into student athlete experiences and how many people they want to thank. I love that when people bring back a lot of people that help them get there.
And a question I'm sure you're asked a lot, is Rob going to be there? Will Rob be there for the banquet?
So Rob, as you know, John, is he's a big deal, man, with ESPN now.
He is.
He's very popular, and he gets assignments. I think he's working, for colleges, and he's working for the NFL as well.
Right.
So he has a lot of responsibility. And he was hoping, as we were, that he would be assigned to the Baylor TCU game.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
That would be perfect.
And so we just have to wait and see. I keep talking to him. I'm checking in with him. How's it look now, Rob? What's it? And he said, well, they just don't tell me until kind of the last minute. And so he's going to do all he can to help. And I think we're getting some help from you, J-Mo,
Yeah,
so
I got a lot of pull there. I do have contact with his producer though, Kim Belton. So
there you go.
We're just trying every angle we can.
Yeah.
Exactly. Think about that storyline for ESPN.
That would
Here's
be
Robert
great.
Griffin III doing a Baylor game. Oh, you were inducted into the Baylor Athletic
you're
Hall of
writing the
Fame.
broadcast for him. That's incredible.
Oh, exactly.
I love
So,
it.
man, that'd be perfect if that
That'd be
works
so
out.
fun.
So we really don't know yet, though.
Yeah.
That's right.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, November 18th is the date. Walter, we look forward to it. Appreciate you, man, everything you do and the way you represent Baylor. It's just great. And thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Walter. Always good to see you.
Hey, listen, I couldn't have started the morning off any better than I did with J-Mo and Katie.
Oh, man.
Very nice.
Thank y'all so much
Sweet
for having
of you to
me.
say.
You bet. Love you, brother.
All right, love you too.
Thanks very much.
All right.
Have you been looking for a new podcast to listen to? Are you interested in true crime, funny one-star reviews, or inspiring stories? What about the history of Waco or the famous people who have lived and worked here? All these and more are produced by Rogue Media Network. There are over 80 different shows, including this one, with more coming all the time. If there is a story to tell, Rogue Media Network is telling it. Watch on YouTube or listen now wherever you get your podcasts, or watch on YouTube.
That is this week's Sick 'em Podcast, powered by Rogue Media Network. Appreciate Walter Abercrombie being our guest from the Bee Association. For Katie Smith, for Walter, I'm John Morris. Thanks for being with us for this week's Sick 'em Podcast.
You've been listening to the Sick 'em Podcast, powered by Rogue Media Network. The Sick 'em Podcast is a production of Baylor Athletics.